The massive space station hung in the void like a crystal flower made of metal and light. Ships from 12 different worlds moved around it in careful patterns. Inside the station, the Galactic Council was about to meet a new species for the first time. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked down the long hallway. Her boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez carried a case of Earth technology. Captain Lisa Park stayed close, watching everything with careful eyes. The aliens they passed stared at them with fear and disgust. A tall, thin creature with blue skin backed away when Sarah smiled and nodded. Its 4 eyes went wide with terror. "Why do they look so scared?" Lisa whispered. "We're from a death world," Marcus said quietly. To them, we're monsters. They reached the council chamber. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, 12 different alien species sat in a circle. Each had their own section with special air and gravity. Sarah stepped forward and bowed. "Honored council members, I am Ambassador Sarah Chen from Earth. We come in peace." A floating, jellyfish-like creature spoke with a voice like singing crystals. "We are the Zephyrians. We speak for this council today. You come from the planet you call Earth. We call it Terra, a Class 12 death world." Sarah nodded. "Our planet may seem dangerous to you, but it is our home." The jellyfish creature's body pulsed with different colors. "Dangerous? Your world has poison gas that burns metal. You breathe oxygen. Oxygen, the most deadly gas in the galaxy." A rock-like being made of crystals leaned forward. "I am Granite Song of the Silicon Collective. Your bones are inside your body. How do you not die from this?" Marcus stepped up. "Our skeletons support our bodies. It helps us move and stay strong." The crystal being shook its rocky head. "Impossible. All civilized species have external shells or energy frameworks. Internal bones are a sign of primitive evolution." Another alien that looked like a giant flower spoke up. "Your eyes face forward like a predator. You have teeth for tearing flesh. Do you? Do you eat other living things?" Sarah looked uncomfortable. "We eat plants and animals, yes. It's how we get energy to live." The flower alien turned pale green and made sick sounds. Other council members moved away from the humans. The jellyfish Zephyrian spoke again. "This proves you are dangerous primitives. Your species shows all signs of violent evolution. You come from a world that kills everything soft and weak." "We're not violent," Sarah said firmly. "We came here to join your peaceful community." "Peaceful?" A blue slug-like creature laughed with a bubbling sound. "Your planet has weather that can kill. Your gravity is 3 times stronger than most civilized worlds. Your star sends out deadly radiation. Nothing peaceful could survive there." Captain Park spoke for the first time. "We adapt. We survive. That doesn't make us evil." The crystal being Granite Song made grinding sounds. "Show us your technology. Prove you deserve to be here." Marcus opened his case. He pulled out a small device. "This is a basic toolkit. Hammer, screwdriver, wrench, knife." The alien stared at the metal tools with horror. "You use kinetic force to manipulate matter?" The flower alien gasped. "How primitive." "We use energy fields and matter converters." Marcus shrugged. "Sometimes simple tools work best." Just then, lights began flashing red in the chamber. A voice came from the walls. "Emergency! Life support failure in Section 7. All technical teams respond immediately." The crystal being stood up fast. "The atmospheric processor is broken. It will take days to fix. That whole section will be empty of breathable air." Marcus looked at Sarah. She nodded. "May I look at the problem?" Marcus asked. "You?" The jellyfish Zephyrian pulsed with confused colors. "Our best engineers cannot fix it." "How could a primitive help?" "Let me try," Marcus said simply. 20 minutes later, Marcus crawled out of a maintenance shaft. His clothes were dirty and he had small cuts on his hands. Behind him, the lights changed from red to green. "Fixed," he said, wiping his hands on his shirt. The alien engineers stared at their instruments. Everything was working perfectly. "How?" Granite Song asked, his crystal body glowing bright with shock. Marcus held up his hammer and a piece of bent metal. "The main coupling was stuck. I hit it until it moved. Then I bent this piece back into shape with my hands." The flower alien made choking sounds. "You used kinetic force?" "And manual manipulation. Sometimes when something is stuck, you just hit it," Marcus said. The council members looked at each other with their various eyes and sensors. The jellyfish Zephyrian floated higher. "This changes nothing. You solved one small problem with brute force. Real engineering requires precision and elegance." But it worked, Captain Park pointed out. A lucky accident, the blue slug alien said. Monkeys randomly hitting things might sometimes work, but it is not science. Sarah felt her patience running out. We didn't come here to prove ourselves to you. We came to share knowledge and work together. Work together? Granite Song's crystal body flashed red. You are from a death world. You are built for violence and destruction. You cannot be trusted near civilized species. The jellyfish Zephyrian pulsed with official colors. The Council has decided. Humanity will be classified as dangerous primitives. You will be restricted to your home system. No travel beyond your solar system is permitted. Sarah's face went hard. You're making a mistake. We are protecting the galaxy, the flower alien said. Your kind brings only chaos and violence. We saved your life support system, Marcus said quietly. A simple repair that any child could do. The blue slug alien bubbled dismissively. Captain Park stepped forward, her hand moving toward her weapon. Sarah grabbed her arm gently. We'll leave peacefully, Sarah said. But remember this day. Remember that you judged us without truly knowing us. The three humans turned and walked toward the door. Wait, called the jellyfish Zephyrian. How did you really fix the atmospheric processor? Our engineers tried for hours. Marcus stopped and looked back. Your engineers tried to fix it without touching it. They used energy beams and gravity fields. But sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. Sometimes you have to use force. Barbaric, whispered the crystal being. Effective, Marcus replied. As the humans left the council chamber, they heard the aliens talking behind them. Did you see how they moved? So fast and strong. Their ambassador stayed calm even when angry. That's dangerous self-control. They fixed our best technology with primitive tools. Maybe we should watch them more carefully. Sarah, Marcus, and Lisa walked back to their ship in silence. Only when they were safely inside did they speak. Well, that went badly, Lisa said. They're afraid of us, Marcus said. They've been safe and comfortable for so long they forgot what real strength looks like. Sarah looked out at the space station through their ship's window. They think we're monsters because we survived a hard world. They don't understand that our hardships made us strong. What do we do now? Lisa asked. Sarah activated the communication system to contact Earth. We go home. We tell our leaders what we learned. And we wait. Wait for what? Sarah's eyes were hard as she watched the alien ships moving around the station. For them to realize they need monsters when real monsters show up. The human ship pulled away from the station and jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their meeting, unaware that their peaceful galaxy was about to face something that would make them beg for help from the Deathworlders they had just rejected. The emergency alarm had been screaming for 3 hours. In the Galactic Council's main command center, panic filled the air like poison gas. Admiral Kethfor of the Kethari Empire stood before the giant display screen. His scaled hands shook as he watched red dots disappear one by one. Each dot was a star system. Each system held billions of lives. Report, he commanded, his voice cracking. Commander Silthy, a tall insect-like being, clicked her mandibles nervously. The Kepler 7 system is gone, sir. Just like the others. No debris, no radiation, no trace that it ever existed. That's impossible, whispered Granite Song, the crystal being from the council. Matter cannot simply cease to exist. On the screen, a new red warning appeared. Another system was under attack. Show me the enemy, Admiral Kethfor ordered. The screen changed. It showed space near the Vega system. Everything looked normal. Stars shined. Planets moved in their paths. Then the darkness came. It wasn't the darkness of empty space. It was something else. Something wrong. The darkness moved like liquid flowing between stars. Where it touched, things simply stopped being. A Kethari battleship as long as a mountain fired its main weapons. Beams of pure energy that could crack planets shot into the darkness. The beams just disappeared. No explosion. No light. Nothing. By the void, Admiral Kethfor gasped. What are those things? Dr. Melandra, a floating brain in a glass tank, spoke with her mechanical voice. I've been studying the recordings. These entities appear to exist partially outside our dimension. They consume not just matter and energy, but space-time itself. Speak plainly, growled the Admiral. They eat reality, Dr. Melandra said simply. The command center fell silent except for the continuing alarms. Commander Silthy looked at her instruments. Sir, we're getting reports from the front lines. Energy weapons pass right through them. Gravity bombs don't affect them. They're immune to everything we have. Not everything, said a new voice. Everyone turned. Admiral Kethavor saw a small, ugly creature standing by the door. It took him a moment to remember what it was. You're one of the humans, he said with disgust. How did you get in here? Ambassador Sarah Chen walked forward. She looked tired. Your security let me in when I told them I had information about the enemy. Impossible, snorted Granite Song. You're from a primitive death world. What could you possibly know? Sarah pointed at the screen. The darkness was flowing around another planet. As they watched, the planet flickered and disappeared. I know those things can be killed. Dr. Melandra's tank bubbled with excitement. Explain. We call them the Void Swarm. We've seen them before. The aliens stared at her. Admiral Kethavor's scales changed to a threatening red color. That's impossible. Our records go back millions of years. These entities have never appeared before. Sarah shook her head. Not in this galaxy. But space is big. We've seen the marks they leave behind. Dead galaxies, empty sectors where nothing exists anymore. You're lying, Commander Silthy clicked angrily. Your species just discovered space travel. No, Sarah said calmly. Our species has been traveling space for longer than you think. We just never told you about it. She activated a small device. A hologram appeared showing star charts. These are the galaxies closest to ours. 7 of them are completely empty. The Void Swarm ate everything. Stars, planets, space itself. Dr. Melandra's mechanical voice was quiet. If this is true, why didn't you warn us? Sarah looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at her. Would you have listened? 3 days ago, you called us dangerous primitives and banned us from leaving our system. Admiral Kethavor's scales turned pale with shame. You said these things can be killed. How? They exist partially outside our dimension, Sarah explained. That's why energy weapons don't work. Energy exists in our dimension, but kinetic weapons work. Physical matter works. Old-fashioned explosions work. Kinetic weapons. Granite Song made grinding sounds of confusion. You mean throwing rocks? Bullets, missiles, nuclear bombs. Things that go boom in the real world. Commander Silthy's mandibles clicked with disbelief. That's impossible. Kinetic weapons are primitive. They're useless against energy shields and armor. These things don't have energy shields, Sarah said. They don't need them. They just phase through energy attacks, but they can't phase through a chunk of metal moving at high speed. On the screen, another alarm started flashing. The enemy was moving toward the core systems now, toward the most important worlds in the galaxy. Admiral Kethavor looked at the display, then at Sarah. Even if you're right, we don't have kinetic weapons. We abandoned that technology thousands of years ago. We didn't, Sarah said simply. What do you mean? Sarah smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator. Earth still uses kinetic weapons. Lots of them. Big ones, Dr. Melandra's tank bubbled. But surely your primitive weapons cannot match our advanced energy systems in power. Want to bet? Sarah asked. She activated her device again. New numbers appeared on the hologram. The aliens looked at them and went very quiet. Those are the specifications for our main battle cannons, Sarah explained. Magnetic acceleration. Tungsten rounds. Velocity, significant fraction of light speed. Admiral Kethafor did quick calculations in his head. His scales turned white with shock. That much kinetic energy would punch through our best shields like they weren't there. That's the point, Sarah said. We never stopped improving our weapons. We just improved different ones than you did. Commander Silthy's voice was very small. How many ships do you have with these weapons? Enough, Sarah said. Another alarm started screaming. On the display, the Void Swarm had reached the Centauri system. Home to the peaceful Aquatic Depths Collective. 15 billion water-breathing citizens lived there. They watched in horror as the darkness flowed over the system. The planets flickered like candle flames in wind. Then they were gone. All of them! The star itself began to dim. My gods, whispered Admiral Kethavor. They're eating the star. We have maybe 2 days before they reach the core worlds, Dr. Melandra calculated. Maybe less. Sarah looked around the room. I need to contact my government. What good will that do? Granite Song asked bitterly. Your primitive ships cannot travel fast enough to get here in time. Sarah's smile got wider and more frightening. Who said anything about travel time? She activated her communicator. Chen to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Clear all lanes for emergency jump. A voice crackled back from across space. Acknowledged, Ambassador. Fleet is standing by. Admiral Kethavor stared at her. Fleet? Did you really think we sent just one ship to meet you? Sarah asked. We're from a death world, remember? We plan for everything. How many ships? Commander Silthy whispered. Sarah looked at the display showing the approaching darkness. All of them. The aliens in the command center looked at each other with growing hope and fear. There's something else you should know, Sarah said quietly. Our weapons aren't the only thing different about us. What do you mean? Dr. Melandra asked. Sarah pointed at the screen showing the void swarm. Those things warp space and time around them. The distortion should drive any normal person insane just by looking at it. The aliens realized she was right. They could barely stand to watch the recordings. The wrongness of the entities made their minds hurt. But you're looking at it just fine, Admiral Kethavor said slowly. Death worlds teach you to deal with things that shouldn't exist, Sarah explained. Our planet has plenty of creatures and places that drive weak minds insane. We learn to adapt. She turned to face them all. You've spent thousands of years making your world safe and comfortable. You've forgotten how to fight things that don't follow rules, and you remember? Granite Song asked. Sarah's eyes were hard as diamonds. We never forgot. We couldn't afford to. Alarms started screaming again. More red dots disappeared from the map. How long until your fleet arrives? Admiral Kethavor asked urgently. Sarah checked her communicator. They're already here. Outside the station's windows, space began to fill with ships. Not the elegant curved vessels of the galactic races. These were angular, armored, covered in weapons that looked crude but deadly. Human ships. Hundreds of them. Sarah spoke into her communicator again. This is Ambassador Chen. You are cleared to engage the enemy. Show them what Deathworlders can do. The first human ship jumped to faster than light speed, heading directly toward the approaching darkness. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UNS Determination, watching the tactical display with cold eyes. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. No panic, no fear, just professional focus, report, she commanded. Lieutenant Commander James Wright looked up from his station. All fleet units report ready, Admiral. 347 ships in formation. Weapons loaded and targeted. Enemy status? The Void Swarm is moving toward the Rigel system. Estimated arrival in 18 hours. They'll hit the galactic core systems after that. Admiral Vasquez nodded. She had studied the alien reports during the jump from Earth. These entities were unlike anything in human military databases, but that didn't matter. Everything could be killed if you hit it hard enough. Commander Wright, signal the fleet. We go in fast and hard. No fancy tactics. No elegant maneuvers. We hit them with everything we have. Yes, ma'am, Wright replied. He paused. Admiral, the alien observers are requesting permission to monitor our attack. Vasquez looked at the corner of her bridge where 3 alien representatives stood. The crystal being, Granite Song, watched with glowing eyes. A floating jellyfish Zephyrian pulsed with nervous colors. A small insect-like creature took notes on everything. You can watch, Vasquez said to them, but stay out of our way. Granite Song's crystals clinked together. Admiral, we must again express doubt about your strategy. Kinetic weapons are primitive. Our energy weapons are far more powerful. Your energy weapons don't work, Vasquez replied simply. But surely there must be a more elegant solution, the Zephyrian sang. Some way to communicate with these entities. Perhaps negotiate. Vasquez turned to look at the alien directly. They ate 15 billion people yesterday. Communication time is over. The alien stepped back from the cold anger in her voice. Admiral, called out Dr. Yuki Tanaka from the science station. I've been analyzing the Void Swarm data. I think I understand how they work. Explain. Dr. Tanaka activated the main display. It showed a 3-dimensional model of space-time. These entities exist in multiple dimensions at once. Most of their mass is outside our reality. That's why energy weapons pass through them. But kinetic weapons work because physical matter interacts with all dimensions simultaneously. A chunk of metal moving fast enough will hit them in every dimension they occupy. Admiral Vasquez smiled grimly. Good. That means our plan will work. She opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Vasquez. Today we face an enemy that has destroyed entire galaxies. They think they're invincible because they exist outside normal space. Her voice echoed through hundreds of ships. They're wrong. We're going to show them what humans do to things that threaten innocent people. We're going to introduce them to Earth engineering. Captain Maria Santos spoke from her marine transport ship. Admiral, my ground teams are ready. If any alien survivors need rescue, we'll get them out. Negative, Captain. These things are too dangerous for boarding actions. With respect, ma'am, my Marines have trained for hostile environment operations. We can handle it. Admiral Vasquez looked at the alien observers. They were staring at Captain Santos with horror. Did she just volunteer to board ships that are being consumed by reality-eating monsters? The insect alien whispered. Humans are insane, Granite Song said with something that might have been admiration. We prefer determined. Admiral Vasquez replied. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Rigel system. Ahead of them, the Void Swarm was already at work. The darkness flowed around planets like living oil. Where it touched, matter simply ceased to exist. Targets identified, Wright reported. I count 47 major entities plus hundreds of smaller ones. All ships. Engage at will, Vasquez ordered. The human fleet opened fire. The space around Rigel lit up with muzzle flashes and rocket trails. Thousands of kinetic rounds streaked toward the enemy at significant fractions of light speed. Nuclear warheads detonated among the darkness, creating brief new suns. For the first time in the war, the Void Swarm took damage. The alien observers watched in shock as reality-warping entities that had seemed invincible suddenly writhed and bled strange colors into space. It's working, Dr. Tanaka said with excitement. Look at the readings. The tungsten rounds are disrupting their dimensional stability. Keep firing, Vasquez ordered. But the Void Swarm was learning. The entities began moving differently, phasing in and out of normal space to avoid the kinetic rounds. They're adapting, Wright warned. Hit rate dropping to 60%. Then we adapt too, Vasquez said. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships switched to dispersal rounds. Shotgun pattern. Fill space with metal. The human weapons changed tactics. Instead of single large rounds, they now fired clouds of smaller projectiles. The space around the Void Swarm became a deadly storm of high-velocity metal. The entities tried to phase away, but there was nowhere to go. The humans had filled every possible location with death. Direct hit on the primary entity, Wright reported. It's breaking apart. On the display, one of the largest void creatures split into pieces. Each piece flickered between dimensions before finally dissolving into normal space and dying. The alien observers made sounds of amazement. Impossible, breathed the Zephyrian. That entity consumed 3 star systems. How can primitive kinetic weapons destroy it? Dr. Tanaka looked up from her instruments. It's not just the weapons. It's the targeting system. Our computers calculate trajectories using physics that account for dimensional variance. What does that mean? Granite Song asked. It means we don't just shoot where the target is, Admiral Vasquez explained. We shoot where it will be in all possible dimensions. That level of calculation should be impossible, the insect alien said. Earth computers are very good at impossible calculations, Dr. Tanaka replied. The battle continued. Human ships moved through space with deadly purpose, their weapons never stopping. When one ship ran out of ammunition, another took its place. Captain Santos's voice came over the comm. Admiral, I found something. There are alien survivors trapped on the research station near Rigel 4. The Void Swarm is consuming the station slowly. The people inside are still alive. Can you reach them? It'll be dangerous. I'll need to fly through the reality distortion field. Admiral Vasquez looked at the alien observers. They were staring at the tactical display in horror. That's suicide, the Zephyrian sang. The reality distortion will destroy any ship that enters it. Maybe an alien ship, Vasquez said. But our ships are built to survive impossible conditions. She opened the channel to Santos. You're cleared for rescue operations, Captain. But be careful. Yes, ma'am. Santos out. The aliens watched in disbelief as Captain Santos's ship flew directly into the reality-warping field around the research station. The field twisted space around the human vessel, but the ship's armor held. Its shields, designed to survive an Earth's radiation-soaked magnetosphere, deflected energies that should have been impossible. How is that ship surviving? Granite Song asked. Earth engineering, Admiral Vasquez said proudly. When your homeworld tries to kill you every day, you build things tough. Captain Santos's ship reached the research station. Through the windows, they could see her Marines in powered armor cutting through twisted metal. to reach the trapped aliens inside. I've got them, Santos reported. 43 survivors. They're in bad shape but alive. Get them out of there, Captain. Working on it. The reality distortion is getting stronger. This thing is trying to eat the station faster now that it knows we're here. The void entity around the station pulsed with angry colors. The research station began to flicker in and out of existence. Santos, get out now, Vasquez ordered. Almost got them all. Santos's voice cut off as the station disappeared completely. For a moment, there was only empty space where the station had been. Then Santos's ship burst out of the reality distortion, its armor glowing with heat but intact. All survivors recovered, Santos reported. But my ship took heavy damage. I'm leaking atmosphere and my engines are fried. Help is on the way, Vasquez promised. She turned to the alien observers. They were staring at the tactical display with something that looked like awe. Your people just flew into a reality distortion field to save aliens they'd never met, the insect creature said quietly. Of course they did, Vasquez replied. That's what people do. Not all people, Granite Song said softly. When the Void Swarm first attacked, most species tried to evacuate their own populations first. We're not most species, Admiral Vasquez said. The battle was turning. The human fleet had destroyed more than half the Void entities. The survivors were retreating deeper into the system. Admiral, Wright reported, we're getting reports from other sectors. More human fleets are engaging the enemy throughout the galaxy. The tide is turning. Good. Signal Earth Command. Tell them we need more ammunition and reinforcement fleets. Already done, ma'am. The industrial facilities are working around the clock. Dr. Tanaka looked up from her science station. Admiral, I'm reading something strange. The void entities aren't just retreating. They're regrouping. All of them across the entire galaxy. What do you mean? They're moving toward the galactic core. All of them. Like they're being called home. Admiral Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine. How many? I'm still calculating, but thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Captain James Wright gripped his command chair as the UNS Determination shook under enemy fire. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Outside the viewports, space burned with the light of 1,000 battles. Damage report, Wright shouted over the noise of alarms. Forward armor at 60%, Lieutenant Zhang called back. Main guns still operational. We've lost 2 missile pods. Keep firing. All weapons, continuous barrage. The human fleet had been fighting for 6 hours straight in the galactic core. What they found there was worse than anyone had imagined. The Void Swarm wasn't just an enemy force. It was the remains of an entire galactic civilization that had tried to transcend physical reality and become something greater. They had succeeded. They had also gone completely insane. Sir, we're getting a signal from Admiral Vasquez, Communications Officer Park reported. Wright opened the channel. The Admiral's voice crackled through static from her flagship 3,000 kilometers away. All ships, this is Vasquez. The main nexus is located at coordinate 774 Mark 8. It's heavily defended, but that's our target. If we can destroy it, the entire swarm network collapses. Wright looked at his tactical display. The nexus was a massive structure built around the central black hole itself. It pulsed with energies that hurt to look at directly. Around it, millions of void entities swirled like a living storm. Admiral, that's a suicide run, Wright transmitted back. I know, Captain. That's why I'm leading it personally. Ma'am, with respect, the fleet needs you. The fleet needs that nexus destroyed. I'm taking 50 volunteers on a direct assault. The rest of you keep the main force busy. Wright felt his stomach drop. He had served under Admiral Vasquez for 8 years. She was the finest officer he had ever known. She was also completely crazy when it came to protecting innocent people. Admiral, let me lead the assault, he said. You coordinate the main battle. Negative, Captain. Your ship is needed with the fleet. Wright made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Admiral, the Determination has taken heavy damage. Our main drives are failing. We won't be much use in a running battle. It was a lie. His ship was hurt but still combat ready. Captain Wright. Admiral Vasquez's voice was suspicious. Are you trying to protect me? No, ma'am. I'm trying to complete the mission. There was a long pause. Finally, the Admiral's voice came back, softer now. Very well, Captain. Take your ship and 49 volunteers. Hit that nexus hard and fast. Yes, ma'am. Right out. He turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship can do so now. No shame in it, his bridge crew looked at each other. Then Lieutenant Zhang spoke for all of them. Sir, where you go, we go. Wright felt pride fill his chest. Then let's go save the galaxy. The determination broke away from the main fleet, followed by 49 other ships. They formed a tight formation and accelerated toward the Nexus at maximum speed. Behind them, Captain Maria Santos led her marine transports in a desperate rescue mission. Scattered throughout the core systems were alien research stations and refugee ships, trapped by the reality distortions the Void Swarm created. While Wright's force headed for the Nexus, Santos's Marines were pulling survivors out of impossible situations. This is Santos to Wright. Her voice crackled over the comm. We've got problems down here. The reality distortions are getting stronger. My Marines are having to fight their way through zones where physics don't work properly. Can you handle it? Wright asked. Sir, my Marines are from Earth. We've been dealing with places where physics don't work since we first started exploring our own planet. Wright smiled grimly. It was true. Earth had areas where the laws of reality seemed to bend. Bermuda Triangle, the Dyatlov Pass, places that trained humans to deal with the impossible. Keep at it, Captain. Get our allies out of there. Will do. Santos out. Wright turned his attention back to the Nexus. It was growing larger on his view screen, a twisted structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. The closer they got, the more wrong it looked. Sir, Lieutenant Zhang said, her voice strained. The crew is reporting headaches and nausea. That thing is affecting our minds just by being near it. Break out the neural dampeners, Wright ordered. Full distribution to all crew members. The neural dampeners were a recent Earth invention. They had been developed to help human explorers deal with the psychological effects of deep space travel. It turned out they also helped resist reality-warping psychic attacks. Dampeners distributed, Zhang reported. Crew feeling better? Good. Now let's see what this thing can do. The Nexus detected their approach. Thousands of void entities broke away from the main structure and rushed toward the human formation. These weren't the simple creatures they had fought before. These were bigger, more complex, with abilities that defied understanding. Incoming hostiles, Wright announced. All ships weapons free. Let's punch through. The space between the human ships and the Nexus became a storm of fire and impossible physics. Void entities phased in and out of reality, striking at the humans from directions that didn't exist. Human ships responded with coordinated salvos of kinetic weapons, filling space with deadly metal. Direct hit on Entity Cluster 7, Zhang reported. They're breaking formation. Keep firing. Don't let up. The battle was unlike anything in human military history. The humans fought with weapons that obeyed the laws of physics. The void entities fought with abilities that ignored those laws entirely. But the humans had one advantage. They had trained for this their entire lives without knowing it. Every human who had ever been lost in a cave and found their way out by feel. Every human who had ever solved a problem by ignoring what should work and trying what did work. Every human who had ever survived something impossible by refusing to give up. All of that experience was coded into their DNA, written into their culture, built into their technology. The human formation punched through the void defenses and reached the Nexus itself. My God, Wright whispered as he saw the structure up close. It was beautiful and horrible at the same time. Miles of crystalline architecture that twisted through dimensions, pulsing with the light of consumed stars. At its center, the remains of an ancient civilization that had tried to become gods. Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildup, Zhang warned. That thing is charging some kind of weapon. All ships emergency evasion, Wright ordered. The Nexus fired. A beam of pure reality deletion swept across space, erasing 3 human ships as if they had never existed. The remaining ships scattered, trying to avoid the terrible weapon. We need to get inside, Wright realized. Close range. Too close for that main gun to target us. Sir, the structure's defenses will tear us apart, yes. Do it anyway. The human ships dove toward the Nexus, flying directly into the defensive fire. Void entities swarmed around them, reality-warping weapons tearing at their hulls. 2 more ships were lost, their crews vanishing into non-existence. But the humans pressed on. I'm reading a weak point, Zhang announced. There at the base of the central spire. The dimensional field is thinner there. All ships concentrate fire on those coordinates, Wright ordered. The remaining human ships fired everything they had at the weak point. Kinetic rounds, nuclear missiles, and experimental weapons that Earth scientists had built specifically for this mission. The Nexus shuddered. Cracks appeared in its impossible architecture. It's working, Zhang shouted. The dimensional field is collapsing, but the Nexus fought back. More void entities poured out of its depths, and the reality deletion beam swept across space again, claiming another human ship. Wright realized they weren't going to make it. Not all of them. All ships, this is right. Ramming speed. If we can't blast through, we'll punch through, sir. Zhang said quietly. That's suicide, yes, but it's the only way to save everyone else. The remaining human ships accelerated toward the Nexus at maximum velocity. They weren't just going to crash into it. They were going to become kinetic weapons themselves. Sir, Zhang said, it's been an honor serving with you. Likewise. Lieutenant, the first human ship struck the Nexus at a significant fraction of light speed. The impact sent shockwaves through dimensions. The second ship hit moments later, its nuclear reactors detonating on impact. Wright's ship, the Determination, was the last to arrive. All hands brace for impact, he announced to his crew. In the final moments, Wright thought about his wife back on Earth, about the children he would never have, about the billions of people throughout the galaxy who would live because of what they were about to do. The Determination struck the Nexus core. The explosion was visible from other star systems. When the light faded, the Nexus was gone. The millions of void entities throughout the galaxy suddenly stopped moving, their connection to their central intelligence severed. On the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Vasquez watched the tactical display. 6 months after the Battle of the Galactic Core, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the rebuilt Galactic Council. The chamber looked the same as before, but everything else had changed. The 12 species that made up the council no longer sat in separate sections. They shared the same space, breathing the same air. It was a small change, but it meant everything. The memorial station is now complete, Sarah announced to the assembled representatives. It orbits the location where Captain Wright and his crew made their final sacrifice. The inscription reads, "They did what must be done so others could live." The chamber was silent for a moment. Then Granite Song, the crystal being who had once called humans primitive, stood up. "Ambassador Chen," he said, his voice ringing like bells. "I owe your species an apology." "We all do," Sarah shook her head. "No apology needed. You acted based on what you knew." "We knew nothing," said the floating Zephyrian representative. "We thought intelligence meant avoiding conflict. We thought civilization meant safety. We were wrong." Admiral Kethivor of the Kethari Empire stepped forward. His scales had permanent markings now, tattoos that honored the human crews who had died saving his worlds. "The Council has reached a unanimous decision," he announced. "Humanity is granted full membership with all rights and privileges. More than that, Earth is designated as the galaxy's Crisis Response Center." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Crisis Response Center?" "When impossible things threaten the galaxy," Admiral Kethivor explained, "we want impossible people to handle them." Dr. Melandra's mechanical voice spoke from her tank. "We have also voted to establish the Deathworld Initiative. We will seek out species from dangerous planets and invite them to join our community. We have learned that survival breeds wisdom." Sarah smiled. "That's a good start. But there's something else we need to discuss." She activated a holographic display. It showed a star chart of the local galactic cluster. "The void swarm didn't originate in our galaxy," she explained. "They came from somewhere else. And if they could travel between galaxies, others might be able to as well." The alien representatives looked worried. "Are you saying there might be more threats out there?" asked the insect representative. "I'm saying there definitely are," Sarah replied. "The universe is a dangerous place. We need to be ready." Granite Song's crystals chimed thoughtfully. "What do you suggest?" "A joint defense force. Ships from all our worlds working together. Human durability and tactics combined with your advanced technology and knowledge." Admiral Kethivor nodded slowly. "A fleet that can handle any threat no matter how impossible." "Exactly." The Zephyrian pulsed with interested colors. "This would require a new level of cooperation. Our species would need to train together, work together." "Some of you might not like that," Sarah warned. "Humans are loud, messy, and we solve problems by hitting them until they break. We're not elegant. Elegance is overrated," said Dr. Melandra. "Results matter more." 3 months later, Captain Maria Santos walked through the corridors of Harmony Station, the new joint training facility built in neutral space. Around her, humans worked alongside aliens in ways that would have been impossible before the war. She passed a workshop where a human engineer was teaching a group of crystal beings how to use kinetic tools. The aliens were fascinated by the concept of fixing things by hitting them. In another section, alien scientists were showing human cadets how to use energy manipulation devices. The humans kept trying to make the devices more robust and portable. "Captain Santos," called a familiar voice. Maria turned to see Dr. Yuki Tanaka approaching with an excited expression. "Doctor, you look like you've made a discovery." "I have. Come, you need to see this." Dr. Tanaka led Maria to the main laboratory. Inside, representatives from 6 different species were working on a joint project. "We've been analyzing the void swarm technology," Dr. Tanaka explained, "trying to understand how they moved between galaxies. And we think we can build our own intergalactic transport system, not for invasion but for exploration and defense." Maria looked at the designs on the display. "How long?" 2 years, maybe 3. "But Captain, that's not the exciting part." Dr. Tanaka activated another screen. "We've been monitoring deep space communications. Radio signals from other galaxies." Maria felt her heart skip. "Other civilizations?" "Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. And some of them are sending distress calls." Maria understood immediately. They're facing their own impossible threats. Exactly. Threats that their advanced civilizations can't handle with elegant solutions. Maria smiled. It was the same predatory smile that had terrified aliens 6 months ago. Now it was the smile of hope. "When do we start building the ships?" "The Council approved funding yesterday. Admiral Vasquez is already recruiting crews." 1 year later, Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UNS Galaxy's Hope, the first intergalactic exploration vessel. Around her, a mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together with easy familiarity. "Status report," she requested. "Intergalactic drive is online," reported Lieutenant Commander Silthy, the insect being who had joined the human fleet after the war. "Destination locked in. Andromeda Galaxy, Sector 7. Crew ready for departure," added Captain Wright's replacement. Commander Chen, no relation to the ambassador. "All departments report ready." Admiral Vasquez looked out at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, civilizations were facing threats they couldn't handle alone. Ancient horrors, cosmic disasters, impossible enemies. They needed help. They needed people who specialized in impossible problems. They needed humans. "Take us out," Admiral Vasquez ordered. The UNS Galaxy's Hope activated its intergalactic drive and disappeared into the space between galaxies, carrying hope to worlds that had given up hope. Back on Earth, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in her office reading reports from across the galaxy. The news was good. Crime rates were down in most systems. Scientific cooperation was at an all-time high. Trade between worlds was flourishing. The Deathworlders had brought more than military strength to the galaxy. They had brought the idea that impossible problems could be solved if you were willing to try impossible solutions. A chime indicated an incoming message. Sarah activated her communicator. "Ambassador," came Admiral Vasquez's voice across the vastness of space. "We've made contact with the Andromeda civilizations. They're facing something called the reality plague. It rewrites the laws of physics in affected areas." Sarah smiled. "Sounds like our kind of problem." "Thought you'd say that." "We're beginning consultation with their scientists. Should have a solution in a few weeks. Keep me informed." Chen out. Sarah leaned back in her chair and looked out her window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere above, past the atmosphere, memorial stations honored the humans who had died saving alien worlds. Their sacrifice had changed everything. The galaxy was no longer a place where each species faced threats alone. It was a community where impossible people solved impossible problems together. And when new threats emerged from the dark between stars, when ancient horrors stirred in forgotten corners of space, when civilizations faced extinction from forces beyond their understanding, they all knew who to call. They called the Deathworlders. They called the humans. They called the people who had looked at an impossible enemy and said, "Hold my beer, I've got this." The galaxy was safe. Not because there were no more threats, but because there were people willing to face any threat, no matter how impossible. And in the depths of space, new human ships were already launching toward distant galaxies, carrying the message that had saved their own. When Deathworlders stand together, nothing is impossible. The adventure was just beginning. Years later, When alien children asked their parents about the Great War, they were told the story of how the galaxy was saved by monsters from a death world, monsters who turned out to be heroes. And when those children grew up and faced their own impossible challenges, they remembered the lesson the humans had taught them. Sometimes the best solution to an impossible problem is an impossible person who refuses to give up. The humans had given the galaxy more than victory. They had given it hope, and hope, it turned out, was the most powerful weapon in the universe.